There we go.
Hello?
Can you see us?
Yes, I can see and hear you guys. How are you guys?
Good,
Good,
how
how
are
are you?
you?
Good. So just before we get started, I just want you guys to know we do record our consultations. It's on the form and everything, but we'll like to give you just another heads up about that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, finally we're on here together. But go ahead. I read a little bit of your form. I think it was Louie, correct? Is that
Yeah. Come here, Lou.
Louie, come here,
Come
bud.
here.
But I
Yeah.
read a little bit of the form, and then I read a little bit of mostly just general obedience, basic behavior stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but you're gonna go ahead and just speak to me about your goals and what you're trying to work on and what you would want the future to look like. Oh, he's a little guy.
Can you say hi? He is a little one.
But no, just fill me in with any important information that you think I should know about, and then as you speak, I'll be taking notes.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, his brother and sister-in-law is Pablo Tedesco, if you know Pablo.
Yeah, I thought I saw the name Tedesco, and I was like,
Yeah.
maybe a connection,
Yeah,
possibly.
that's how we heard about you guys. But basically, like I would say, I don't know, our main concern is he jumps on the table. Well, he's like obsessed with food, first of all, and he like always jumps on the table, like kind of jumps on people. And I just obviously he's small now, but he's not gonna be small forever. I don't want him to like jump on people, and the jumping on the table is extremely annoying. I feel like kind of with like basic commands, like he doesn't know how to like take a treat from our hand. Like he literally like bites our fingers and like I don't know, like he understands like sit and can do like paw, but he doesn't know like stay or anything. The biting.
Yeah, the
Obviously.
biggest, one of the bigger things is that like
Oh.
randomly like so nippy.
Yeah.
Usually like right around like when he right after he wakes up, he'll like go
And right now he's being extremely nippy.
Yeah.
The pulling on the leash is also something like he like chokes himself on the leash. I feel like I wrote down barking too because I feel like randomly he gets like crazy and just starts like barking. Like I mean, it's kind of like goes hand in hand with like him being like really nippy and bitey. Did I miss anything?
No, I would say the jumping on the table, like
Yeah.
constantly trying to get like steal food from us. We can't even like sit down at like the table, not like a coffee table, like an actual sit down table without him circling.
And like we've gotten pretty good at like maneuvering him, but then like we have guests over and he's just like snatching their dinner. It's just like a nightmare.
Okay. And then how old is Louie?
He is 5.5 months.
And then how long have you had Louie for?
We brought him home on January 16th. So right in the beginning of this year.
I see, okay. Cool. But this is all you pretty much know, just basic, so
I mean, he's not like there's no like severe behavioral issues with him. It's just like he's like just a little misbehaved.
Yeah, like he's never like bitten anyone
Yeah.
like intentionally and not in like a play way or like nothing I would say like that makes him like an aggressive dog other than him biting me right now. But generally it's just like he'll randomly act up, and one of the bigger things is like right when we start like cooking dinner, sit down for dinner, and he knows there's food available. That's when he'll kind of get out of control.
Got it. Okay. And then he doesn't like guard the food or anything. So like if he gets something you're trying to reach out of his mouth or anything, he doesn't act more intense about it, or he kind of just willingly gives it up, or is it more like a just he just doesn't want to give it up, but he's not gonna like fight for it. You know what I'm saying?
Generally, like I mean, he won't necessarily just like forego it right away, but he definitely won't like attack you. Like if I had to get something out of his mouth, I can get his mouth.
Like if we have to like pry his mouth open, he kind of just like lets us do it.
He might like growl a little bit, but he's never like try to like attack.
But usually, if he gets food, he eats it so fast that we don't even have a chance to get it out of his mouth.
He'll swallow it before depending on what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And then have you guys tried anything to fix it on your own, or are you just kind of waiting for a trainer, or have you guys tried anything by yourself?
We like have like obviously tried like all like the positive reinforcements and everything, but that did not work. And we were doing like spraying him like his mouth with like lemon water. And
Oh,
I think he likes it, so I don't think that that even worked.
Ooh, chill out for a sec, bud.
Relax.
okay.
But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of just gotten to a point where we're like, we don't know what to do.
Anything else?
I think those are really the biggest things. Like, again, he's not like a bad
Mm-mm.
dog, but like definitely has some qualities that, like, you know,
He's like he's like a smart dog. Like when he wants to listen, he will listen. Like he can be very good, but then like when he's like ready to not listen, or like he knows exactly when we're gonna eat, and he know like he's smart. He knows when he doesn't want to listen, when he wants to listen.
Got it. Okay. So counter surfing, jumping on people, his mouthiness, and pulling on the leash. Anything else you want to accomplish with him? Like, for example, like a recall, or any other like commands you're looking for, besides the priorities, which is like the more behavior stuff. But anything else you're looking for to teach Louis?
his recall is not bad. Granted, we don't really have him like, unless we're up in Michigan, like, or like something, we don't really have him like off the leash wandering, you know, unless we're in like a wide open area. And recall's never really been an issue, but if
No.
it could be better,
Yeah.
you know, just because
I also want him to learn like staying in place. Like I know Pablo has like learned to play,
Yeah.
like he can stay. Like I definitely want him to learn that.
yeah, if that could be an option,
Yeah.
like when we're like eating, or you know, we have guests over
Mhm.
and he's not jumping up on their lap. And
Yeah, we'll definitely give you guys options to use, when it comes to the in-home stuff. We always tell our clients, you do what makes you, what's making you guys happy, right?
Mhm.
But we'll give you many options to kind of play with and see which one works for you and your dog. Because, there's sometimes, for example, maybe we had a client whose dog was not adapting well to the kennel.
Mhm.
So then, as a trainer's job, or as a trainer's point of view, they're like, let's tackle that, right? But then the client was like, but the dog is good in the playpen area in the kitchen. He's quiet. We're good. We're happy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you want that? Like, sure. Like, okay, that's fine. Right? So we'll be giving you options. It's never going to be like one thing you have to do, but we'll
Right.
also obviously give you like the warnings, like, hey, but if you do this, this might happen. Okay.
Yeah.
But for sure we can talk about, what we can do in the in-home to to help you make it easy for yourselves with the guests coming over and when you guys eat dinner. What else was I about to say? He's from a rescue?
No, he's like kind of from like a family friend. It was like kind of
Oh,
like an accident litter. And
yeah,
we just
they needed people to take
Yeah.
puppies, and we kind of wanted one, and that, you know, we heard from a family friend that they had some, and it kind of just worked
Yeah.
out that way.
yeah. Okay, so he is 5.5 months. How much does he weigh now?
He's 31 pounds.
Yeah,
31. So he's probably gonna be like, hold on one sec. There's be right back.
Yeah. No rush. Dude, Louie, relax. Give him that bone.
All right, so how big do you expect him to get?
I mean, his mom was a golden and his dad was a lab, and like the golden was like a mid-sized golden, like she wasn't too big, and the dad was like a pretty tall, like bigger, like American lab.
I would say
So
they were both probably around like this 60 to 75
yeah,
pound range.
but
in that window.
our friends got one of his brothers who's like double the size of him. So I'm kind of anticipating he's gonna be a little bit smaller, like on the smaller end, maybe like 60 pounds if I had to guess. But like I feel like you could never know because they could always like grow so much.
Yes. What else? Anything else you should know about Louis?
He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, definitely has the puppy energy thing going for him.
Yeah. But I mean, all in all, he is a good boy. He plays well with other dogs. Like he's not like, a huge problem, but there's just like a lot of things.
Yeah,
that,
we go to the dog park very often.
Yeah.
You know, he has yet to have any aggression towards
Mhm.
any other dog. He really just likes like kind of like running around.
Yeah, he kind of likes to just like follow around like the pack.
Yeah.
Like he like runs.
Same things with like toys.
Mhm.
You know, Pablo comes to our apartment all the time.
Yeah.
And, like Louie is not gonna freak out or get aggressive if, you know, he can't
No.
get a toy from a different dog or something, which I think is a good sign.
Mhm.
Cool. While you're walking, only thing he's doing is pulling on the leash. Is he pulling anything towards anything specific? Like, does he pull when he sees dogs, people, or is he just pulling the whole time, or how does it work?
He generally will like he has a harness, so he'll like basically get up on his back legs,
Yeah.
and like he'll try to want to talk to every person,
Yeah.
essentially, or dog.
What he does though, which is like part of our like jumping on people, is like when we're walking, like he like jumps at people when we see them. Like it's super, super excited and like jumps at, like he just thinks everyone knows him and like wants to say hi to him, which is not always the case. So that's something that he does.
Okay, same thing with the dogs, or just people mostly?
He gets more, he doesn't jump at other dogs. He just gets really excited and like pulls toward the dog, like wanting to say hi. But if there's just like a person without a dog, he definitely like jumps like toward them.
Got it. Okay.
It's like, it's not in like an aggressive way. He just like, he definitely wants to say hi, but it's something that obviously not everyone likes dogs and not everyone wants to be jumped at. So.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's
pretty much all of our list.
Got it. Okay. So again, like I said, just like you said as well, but basic puppy stuff, just high energy puppy, just needing to manage his energy, you know.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, you know, the harness and you know, Pablo's owners have probably said it, but we try to avoid harnesses. Harnesses are mostly used by owners who obviously want to avoid, you know, trachea collapsing, trachea damage as they're pulling, because if they're already pulling at the harness and you can hear them almost choking themselves, they're definitely going to choke themselves on a flat collar, right? So when training begins and everything, we're going to avoid that harness. Harnesses, from what we've seen, promote pulling, right? They tell the dog to pull, right? It activates what's called opposition reflex on the chest. So harnesses are used for protection training. Harnesses are used for huskies to pull on sleds, and harnesses are also used for horses to pull the carriages. For protection training, what I mean by that is opposition reflex is, are you guys familiar with that term?
Yeah.
So basically, if I pull back, if I pull one way, the dog always wants to go opposite of that direction or pressure. So if I pull left, they'll go right. So if I pull right, they go left, back, forward, forward. They want to go back. So when the dog pulls forward and you pull them back, it makes them want to go forward even more, right? So we utilize that and we use it to our advantage in protection training, where we want to create frustration, right? So let's say there's a guy in the suit across from us. I have my dog on a harness. I'll pull the dog, but then release him. I'll pull, release, pull. So I'll place a little tug game of my leash, and the dog starts to vocalize, bark, become aggressive, and then I let the leash go and they go and bite the guy, right?
Right.
So harnesses are, you know, definitely a tool in our belt. However, when it comes to leash pulling, leash walking, it can sometimes work against the owner and what they're trying to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, there are other tools out there as well. I don't know if Pablo has one, but you know, there's prong collars, slip leashes, slip chains, and e-collars and all that stuff, right? Where those are more aversive tools, right? Because when it comes to harnesses and gentle leaders or flat collars, those tools tend to not be like the you know, our number one thought when we think of aversive tools, right? Because they don't really sound negative, or they don't really create a negative feeling when a dog does a certain behavior. So the dog tends to obviously continue whatever behavior they're doing because there's no like consequence for it, right? Are there some dogs that can view harnesses as a negative or an aversive? Sure. Yeah, maybe you get a dog who's like, you know, touch sensitive and you gotta touch the arms and everything. They're just very like uncomfortable, and that could be an aversive to them, right? Any tool can be an aversive. I'm just saying like the first thing or the first tools we think about is prong, e-collar, slips, right? Are you guys familiar with prong collars by chance?
Yeah.
Do you know how they work and why they work?
I definitely know how they work, but I don't know why.
Yeah. So there's here, but you know, you've seen how they're shaped. They're kind of like pointy things, right? They're supposed to mimic a mother's dog bite or like the dog teeth, like a mouth.
Okay.
And the reason why a lot of people get quick results with it, or they just see a really noticeable difference in their dog's behavior when it comes to walking with a prong collar, is because the prong collar is physicality. It is uncomfortable. It's an aversive, right? It's uncomfortable. But the more important part is it's physical. Okay, dogs are physical animals, right? So if Louie is at the dog park one day and maybe she's playing with the wrong dog, maybe she's playing with an older dog who's like, I don't want to play with dogs, and maybe the owner, who knows why, maybe brought that dog there because you're gonna run into those people, right? How do you think that dog is gonna let Bailey know you're crossing the line here? I don't want to play, right? That's going to be a quick snap, a bite, a growl, or just something to let that puppy know, because dogs can't use, dogs can't use language, right? That dog can't tell Louie to off, leave it. Dog can't put the dog in the timeout, neuter, spay, or drug each other, right? It's just, you're going to be this way or do this behavior, you're going to get what's coming. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
Sorry,
no worries. There's a really popular YouTube video out there. It's a video of a cream retriever. You might have seen it, I think it went viral. It's a cream retriever entering a playpen and with her litter, and they are really excited to see her, and they all start coming towards her. They're jumping on her, they're whining, they're being overly excited, right? And then the mother just snaps at 3 puppies, right? She growls, boom, 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 snaps at 3 puppies, and everyone just walks away and lays down. It's quiet.
I don't think I've seen that, but that's interesting.
So puppies have been getting corrected for, you know, however they've been acting, right? Over aroused or so overly excited. Before you even got the puppy, right? That was already there. So sometimes clients are like, you can't correct a puppy, it's a puppy, you know, they don't know, but they do know, and they've learned, you know, what's allowed and what's not allowed based on who's there, right? The mother. So that's why prong is successful, right? Most of the time, right? And what I mean by most of the time is that here and there you'll get a dog who, let's say we have a reactive, I don't know, Rottweiler, and they're doing prong, and there's a chance that that Rottie or these bully breeds could just overpower it, and they just don't care because it's not enough to make them feel like, oh, that was kind of uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we don't prioritize our training on prong collar. It's just because there's too many. Yeah, it might work, but then this might happen, and then you can't really let your dog off leash because you have to, you know, use the prong collar. So there's no off leash recall, and if the prong collar breaks, then good luck. You know, there's all these other things where it's like the ceiling is very low for prong collar. Again, you can still teach heel, stay, sit down, come, place, but then there's like that, you know, is it going to be, what if it's too strong? What if the puppy is too, Louis is only 5 months, right? Maybe the pressure is too soon for him, and then he's kind of like too, like, you know, he's too like overwhelmed or overcompensating the pressure, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Which then brings me to e-collar. What do you guys know about e-collar?
Well, we like when Tony and Mal had Pablo train for like the e-collar, we like watched him very shortly after. So they gave us like a Spark Notes version of like, like learning how to like walk Pablo like on the leash and all that. So I don't know. Obviously I'd love to hear what you have to say, but we've kind of watched Pablo grow up with his little e-collar.
Cool. Yeah, that guy, I think they came and reached out from another friend or family member, I'm not sure, but they had another friend or family, their dog was named Bo.
Yeah, we know Bo too.
Yeah, so they were both, I can't remember who was a resource guarder. I know Bo's definitely a resource guarder, and Bo also has some neck sensitivity, right? So when they touched his collar or neck area, Bo would snap at them, and they had to work on that.
Yeah.
Pablo, I think wanted, you know, the obedience and everything like that. And I think he did have a resource guarding incident with Bo. I think they got into a little stuff.
it was at like his family's lake house. We were there for that.
Yeah, but no, I think, you know, definitely those dogs needed it. You know, they were very, when it comes to golden labs, they're very tough dogs. They're very
Yeah.
resilient, right?
Mhm.
So we've seen a lot of success with the e-collars with those specific breeds as well. Because, you know, you're thinking, oh, it's a golden retriever, happy-go-lucky dog. Why would you need to use an e-collar on that, right? You'd be pretty surprised like how tough those dogs are. They're so happy-go-lucky and wiggly. They're just like, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, my family had a golden who passed away last year, and a lab. Our golden was like an angel dog, like never did anything wrong. And our lab is like a completely like crazy dog, and he has an e-collar too, and that like really like whipped him into shape.
No, but you know, e-collar, a lot of times people are thinking, you know, shock collar, electrocution, all these things, right? Yes, it is electricity, but it's not flowing through the dog's body, right? Me and Jesse actually just did a video on the Instagram.
On your Instagram.
Okay. Where we're using a TENS unit and we're comparing it, right?
Yeah.
So the feeling and the sensation all are basically the same, right? If anything, like I said in the video, that TENS unit was a lot more like greater contraction, right? It wasn't more painful, it didn't hurt more, it was a stronger contraction, that was all, which doesn't hurt. But that's where the technology comes from. The TENS unit, chiropractic told us before and stuff like that, right? But the brand we use is called Doctra. This brand has been used by Jesse for more than half his career. He's tried other brands in the past, but Doctra has gotten him the best results from his dogs, right? Easy to use remote, as you've probably seen already, your dial, and then your button, very easy, right? And then you've also probably seen that this remote, or this brand or model goes up to 127, right? 127 levels.
Yep.
There are other models and brands out there that maybe you'll see go up to 8 level e-collar.
Yep.
Don't think that we have 100 more levels. Their maximum 8 and our maximum 127 feel the same. They're equal. But we have so many more breaks to be more specific to the dog's personality, the breed, or like the scenario we're in, right? So it just gives us a lot of wiggle room to find that actual, like the, you know, that precise and actual number the dog is most comfortable with, right? We always say highest needed, lowest possible, right? When it comes to numbers, stuff like that. And we can never predict what number dogs are going to be, right? So we can have a Chihuahua who's operating at like 50s and 60s, and then we'll have a Great Dane who's like really sensitive at 10 and 9, right? So it's every dog is different when it comes to that behavior. The only thing we can predict is what model, right? Based on our dog's weight, and then the behavior and what our goals are with these dogs, right? Any questions so far about the e-collar?
No, I think, you know, we've watched Pablo enough and used it enough where we kind of got the sense of like, you know, now that he's trained on it, like you generally don't really need to go higher than like a 30, because like, you know, if you shock him once, he kind of knows that will happen again if he acts up. So what I've just seen in the past of watching Pablo is like if he's being crazy on the walk or something and you shock him once, like he'll fall in the line pretty well. Because so it's like not like you need to turn it to 127.
Yeah. And at this point, it's more of like, you know, here and there we're using the e-collar, right? But it's on just in case, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. It's good that you guys got hands on with it and everything, got a feel for it, and also saw like in action with like, you know, with Pablo, right?
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? We typically start e-collar training at 6 months. 5 months is okay. Just let you know that the reason why we do that is because at that point, brain of the dog has developed enough to understand this new form of pressure, right? Sometimes if you start too young, which is fine, you can start as young as like 3 months, 4 months. But it's more for like the trainer, not really like an owner to do that. The trainer, like there's a specific way to work with puppies with, you know, with prong collars and e-collars, using the food and working through, you know, things like that. Cause usually if you do prong collar and introduction too early, and you're doing like the old school yank and crank method that they did years ago, you'll get what's called a nervous piddler, and then you just gotta fix that. It's a hassle, right? But 5 months to 6 months is like the lowest we'll usually go when it comes to clients with e-collar training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely like very interested in the e-collar training. Like, I feel like we've seen it work wonders on several dogs. And we both know it's not hurting the dog. It's not like an evil way of like training them.
I've held Pablo's collar and shocked myself for it because we were just generally curious, and it's not painful. No. It's more just like uncomfortable, like you said. So I don't feel like we are hurting.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. So when it comes to the e-collar stuff, and Louie, the first thing, and introducing the e-collar to Louie is what I meant. The first thing we're going to be going over is the heel command. Okay. Again, our version of heel is walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. So if I take 5 steps with Louie takes 5. If I take 10, he takes 10. When I come to stop, automatic sit, shoulder parallel to the leg, loose leash in any environment. That's how strict the heel needs to be. Okay. So there's a few reasons why this is the first exercise we teach to our dogs. Obvious reason would be your leash walking skills, right? You get the nice walk. But the other important reason is to teach Louie how to turn off the pressure, right? In a calm, in a familiar way, right? Walking outside, we're having fun, using the e-collar, right? A lot of times clients think e-collar is when dog does bad behavior and then you slam them. So if Louie was on the counter and this is his first time with the e-collar and then you slam on 127, right? That's not how you do it. If anything, you're not really getting anything done, because the dog will then be wondering, where did that come from? When is it going to come back? Why did that come? It's too many questions, right? So the dog first needs to understand where it comes from and how it comes. So when we make a dog realize that they are the one in control of the e-collar, everything is easy from there. Okay. So we're teaching him that this turns on, right, when you do certain behaviors, but then it goes away when you do this behavior. Right. So he's like, okay, if I do this, we're good.
You're actually teaching them right from wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. In the easy ways, like again, such as walking, right? So heel for the obedience, the understanding of e-collar. The other thing we're addressing here is his interest in other stimuli, right? So the idea behind heel, when it comes to more reactive dogs, more you can understand it more. But when it comes to the heel, technically, if our number is correct and our obedience is very important to the dog, technically, nothing else should matter. Okay. Right? Because he's more concerned about the heel, the positioning, and you. Right? So whenever we get a dog, like this year I had a client, her dog was reactive to everything. Bird, people, dogs, like everything. It was just.
Birds are another thing that he runs after. Now you say that.
Sorry?
Birds are another thing that he runs after when he sees them.
Yeah, but the dog was reactive of everything. So we had our first class. It was an in-person program. We had our first class in the facility. I taught heel. I saw them next week, and then she told me that they started their walk. They saw a bird, and he did not lunge. So she never really had to use the e-collar. Yeah. Situation, right? So there's going to be some things where we don't need to indirectly fix, because it's not jumping on the people that's a problem. It's your dog is a little overstimulated and overexcited on the walks. So we need to address that first, so that we might not even see the jumping. But if we're obviously in a situation where we know he's going to jump, we'll teach you guys how to handle that and stuff like that. So it's more of like we're not trying to focus too much on the symptom, but more of like, why is he doing that? Yeah. Pulling, okay, so then that's telling me he's already at a certain level of his like energy scale. Yeah. You need to tackle that, so then this can make everything else easier. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why heel is the first thing we're going to be going over with Louie. easy for him, walking, and an introduction of a new tool. What else? Any other questions about that?
No, that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and then from there, then we'll go ahead and be tackling, counter surfing, the mouthiness, what to do when he does that, and then place and all that fun stuff there. Program wise, is there a specific program you're looking for? Because Pablo did the daycare and train, and then Bo did the in-person program. Is there one that you had you were thinking about, or did you want me to explain them to you and then you
I think we're like kind of looking for you to explain it and like what I guess you like in your opinion, what you think makes the most sense for us to do.
So when it comes to the programs, there's in-person, the board and train program, and then daycare and train.
Okay.
We'll talk about in-person first, and I'll go over pros and cons of each program, what you would be expecting. When it comes to in-person program, it's obviously one-on-one verbal instruction. Trainer does not touch the dog. We are verbally coaching you, so it's all hands on. You're doing all the work, because at the end of the day, it'll be you guys obviously walking Louie, not us, right? We already know what we're doing. There's 3-week program, 6, 9, 12. Okay. From everything I'm gathering, minimum 6 weeks. Okay. 2 classes heal, 1 class in home, 1 class for stationary control like place, and then the last one can be a recall if you're interested in that. So that's bare bones, right? And that's if you want to learn the recall, but that's bare bones, right? We always do enjoy teaching recall so that you enjoy the what's the word? Like ECOG can give you so many things, right? So we like to have the owner enjoy as much as we can, such as like the off-leash recall.
I don't think that'd be like a bad thing, do you?
No.
Yeah.
The 9-week kind of gives you more wiggle room and more lessons to work in the obedience. And by the way, you're always more than welcome to add more classes. So you can start with a 6-week and then add a 3-week program if you wanted to learn more, right?
And that's not every day for 6 weeks, right?
No, it's only an hour once a week. So it'd be, for example, this is just an example. Tuesdays, 7 p.m. I meet you guys 6 times. And I'm teaching you 1 topic at a time, right? So it's just not so much information right away. So it generally is a little longer than the other programs. So basically, what the 6-week in-person compares to, what we can get done in 6 weeks when it comes to the in-person program is what we can get done in 2 weeks in the board and train program, right? Just to compare it for you guys. But no, 6-week program is mostly for owners who, I want my dog to walk nicer on the block. I let him run around for recall, and then I go home. That's like the 6-week program. 9-week is those things, but then also I want to take my dog to like a patio and want my dog to relax and not move for 2 hours or however long. Right? So it's more stationary control. The 12-week is more for owners who want everything off leash. They go hiking every other weekend. They want 100% reliability with the e-collar, fully off leash trained dog, right? So those are how the pros laid out. Again, minimum bare bones. It's gonna be a 6-week program, but to have more wiggle room with other commands, 9-week would be also an appropriate, a good one as well. 12-week is if again, if you want more. You can always add more classes if it comes to that, or you're like, I just want to learn more. He's doing so great. You want to have him learn more obedience and stuff like that, right? What else about the in-person? Coming with the nice weather and everything, we're having our lessons at Oz Park. If you're that park, one of the busiest park in Chicago. So train your dog at Oz Park. I'm pretty sure anywhere is fine. Any questions about the in-person program?
No, it kind of sounds like, and I don't know if we can talk about this, but we almost like I think it'd be the move to start with the 6 and then kind of just get a gauge of like how he's doing, how we're doing, like, taking the information from the class and working in it at home, and then we need to go to 9. So, that's, we can. And then, ultimately, if you wanted to do the 12, which would basically be just like adding like extra perks of, off the stuff like that. I almost feel like it makes sense to start with the 6. And if we feel like we need 9 and go from there, is that like pretty common?
Yes, it's common. I think we had one guy who was really into the training, and he ended up, I don't know how many classes, but he had like 50 maybe. He kept just buying, he just kept going and going and going. And his dog was able to, be in the heel position, flip, face the other way, and he would walk forward, and the dog would walk backwards. He'd flip the dog around and circle. He was doing all this fun stuff, right? But he was just so into the training. So no, we've had clients definitely buy extra programs because they're wanting to learn more, or but yeah, I'm telling you right now, the 6 weeks bare bones, we can get what you're trying to accomplish done in that time. Again, the rest of it is just if you're interested in learning more.
Do you know what the total cost of that one is again? I know I looked at all these. I just kind of like get them all confused in my head.
Yeah, in person. La, 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 la. They usually have the website just
It's I can also look it up. I know Elizabeth sent me like all like the information. I just wasn't sure if you knew off the top of your head.
Yeah, I don't, but when it comes to the in-person program, this program is usually the ones that we like would recommend the most because you're doing everything on your own and you're learning a lot more. So pros and cons. Pros is you're doing it yourself, you're part of the training from the beginning to the end. Cons is it's just going to take a little longer. So the 6 week program is 1,000, 9 week is 1,350, 12 is 1,725, and the 3 week is 600. So if you were to do a 6 week 1,000 and you wanted more class, you would have to pay 600. You wouldn't pay the difference between the 9 week. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we did 6 weeks and we wanted to go up to 9, we would pay 600 per session.
No, 600 per 3 classes.
Okay, per 3.
So you would pay
for the additional 3.
I gotcha. Yeah,
you're paying the difference in what the package is.
Okay,
not like an additional $1,300.
Got
it. Any questions about the in-person program?
No, I think.
Well, let's just hear like the rest of them.
Yeah, go ahead.
So board and train. That's what. Oh no, probably the daycare train. Board and train. There's 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. Okay. Again, what we can get done in 6 weeks, we'll get done in 2 weeks here. 9, 3, 4 weeks here. We'll get done is comparing that to the 12-week program, right?
Gotcha.
Elias is our head trainer for boarding training and daycare trains. So while Louie is here, he will learn. 2 weeks is like probably like what I'm feeling for you guys. Heel, stay, sit down, come, place. He'll learn all 6 commands in the 2 weeks. Everything recorded in the video for you, so you can learn. You can see how he's learning and how to practice and stuff like that. So it'll be Elias in those videos. He'll be walking you guys through, how the heel works. The first time Louie's feeling the e-collar and doing heel. Place, sit, recall, all these different things, right? The only thing we can't mimic is in-home stuff.
Okay. Right.
So when it comes to the board and trains and daycare and trains, there's what's called follow-up lessons. With the 2 week board and train program, 4 hours of in-person comes with that, right? Okay. So it'd be 1 hour when you pick him up. We get some hands on, we kind of get familiar with the tool, you take him home, you practice, and then we see you maybe in a week or 2, depending, whenever you want, right? And then we do some in-home stuff, right? And then you have 2 hours left, you can use that however you want, right? While he's here, Louie will be able to play with dogs, right? Just because he's a board and train doesn't mean he's only here for training, so he'll be able to socialize and stuff like that. Usually the board and train's dog is really busy, so he gets pottied around 6 to 7 a.m. training sessions start at 8 a.m. to 9. And he's getting about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 to 8 sessions a day, right? And they're pretty short, 15, 20 minutes. We like to keep the session short.
Yeah.
So if he's not getting trained, he's, he could be playing with dogs. If he's not playing with dogs, he could be doing treadmill work. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see them. I always see your guys' Instagram stories too, the dogs on the treadmill.
Yeah. So if he's not doing treadmill, he could be doing duration work. That's why you're seeing these beds around the facility. If he's not doing that, training walk. If he's not doing that, he's probably just resting in his kennel, which is another thing we like to do here, right? An hour activity, an hour rest, an hour activity, an hour rest. Just so the dog is practicing some sort of off switch, right?
Right.
Overnight, we have, you probably seen on the Instagram as well, those kennel runs, like the stalls, right? So that's where he'll be, sleeping here. We have a few overnighters, humans, right? Here to, be here at the facility. So if they hear any barking, we address it. So there's people here throughout the night.
And is that like, so if he did the overnight one, would that be like the same place he'd stay if we like boarded him with you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually the board and train program, again, from what I'm hearing, would work. Again, we're just missing out on the, the in-home stuff, counter surfing and stuff like that.
Right.
But overall, it would be an appropriate program for Louie in hearing what
Okay.
he wants to accomplish. So it's more to do it. The board and train program is more for like owners who are like, I'm going out of town for vacation this time. I need a program also, so I might as well take advantage of the whatever. What else about the board and train program? A common concern owners wonder or have a concern about would be if, because we've heard, other clients tell us throughout the consultations that, I sent my dog to a board and train already. The dog obeyed and did everything when the trainer was there, but when the trainer left, the dog ignored me and everything, right? That doesn't happen with e-collar training because let's say you see Elias working with Louie in the videos and he's operating at 35 or 30s, right? Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's say, Louie's operating at 30s with Elias. When we hand Louie off to you and you're using the appropriate number, it's still 30.
Yeah.
So there's no, he's stronger than her or she's stronger than him. It's 30 is 30 for everyone. So anyone can handle the dog as long as they're practicing the same exercises and stuff like that. It wouldn't be an issue, right? So we never get that. E-collar is very easily transferable to new people, right? Any other questions about the board and train program?
No,
I don't have
it's
any
definitely something
questions,
to think about. It sounds like with our issues, like the in-home stuff is like the majority of the stuff that we are looking to correct, which would make, I think, based on what you said, makes more sense to do the 6-week, in person.
What was the last one? The daycare train?
Daycare and train, pretty much the same explanations as the board and train. However, he's not staying here overnight. So you're just dropping him off between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then you're picking him up between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Okay. There is the 5, 10, 15, 20. You're more in the 10 daycare and train program range. I think you get 3 hours of in-person follow-up. But these don't need to be back to back. So what I always like to tell the clients is at least for the first 3 days, keep them close together. All right. So maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, and then Monday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? At least for the first 3 days, 3 to 5 days. Then those last few days, those 5 or 4 days, that's when you can start to spread them out as needed. But usually for those beginning days, I like to keep them close just so that the practice is there and fresh in the dog's brain. Same thing, you're still getting heel, stay, sit down, come place. You're still getting the 2 videos. You get a video per week. So if you do a 4-week board and train program, you get 4 videos. If you do a 20-day daycare and train, you get 4 videos. Again, the first video for the 2-week and then 10-day is the introductory sessions. The second video you're going to be getting is called the long leash phase. Okay, where we're going to put Louie on a 30-foot long leash, and we're going to run through all the commands again, kind of building you to off leash and kind of giving you like a few exercises to practice if you want to continue that way. But basically, we're just advancing his obedience and telling him, hey, buddy, you have 30 feet to make a mistake.
Yeah. Okay.
After that third, if you do a longer program, the third video is when we train our boarding trains, our daycare trains in a playgroup setting. So it's more of a distractions, right? How to learn to turn off, turn on, where you can play, and now you got to heal. You can play with the dogs, now you got to heal, right? The fourth and last video for those programs would be we take our dogs to what's the park? One of the parks. I know there's Humboldt Park here or Oz Park. Kind of show you how the obedience transfers to real life situations, depending how well, how far the dog has come along. We do sometimes touch on the off leash stuff. So we'll walk the dog around the park, off leash heel and stuff like that, and how that looks to the, giving the owner a picture and how it should look. Right.
Yeah.
But again, pros and cons for these programs is pros, we get it done faster. We're layering in all the work for you. Cons is you're not part of it at first, but again, we can easily transfer it to you at the end. And then the in-person pros, you're doing the work. Cons is just going to take a little longer, but it's up to you guys on how, work life is, family stuff, all that, all other. Any questions?
No, I think really like we just have to kind of decide which one makes sense for like our schedule and
I guess as far as like I mean, obviously we don't have to make the decision right now, right? I guess like once we make the decision, do we just like reach out to like Elizabeth or just like the email that we've been chatting back and forth with?
Yeah, so I'll probably just keep it with Elizabeth since she's already in contact with you. If not, it'll be my assistant Tina. She'll be
oh yeah, I've talked to Tina too.
Okay, sweet. One of the admins will be reaching out with the programs I recommended, with the prices, the e-collar I recommend for Louie. I'm gonna give you 2 options for Louie. Okay, so one e-collar is called the 2300 NCP dog truck. Okay, this e-collar is would work out based on his size, behavior, and stuff like that. However, this is up to you guys' personal preference. It's more of like the e-collar is more of like it's shaped like a box, right? So it's a more like kind of more bulkier. The other option, if you care about aesthetics on how the e-collar looks, is the 1900S Black Edition. Okay, the Black Edition is the one Pablo has, where it's curved and it kind of goes along the neck.
Yeah.
Again, that's up to you guys. Louie would be fine with the 2300. I think there is a pretty big price difference between the 2 collars. The Black Edition has some functions that the 23 doesn't have. So the Black Edition has a boost function. So basically, if you press this specific number, it'll add 10 levels with the press of a button instead of dialing up. It also has a lock function. So if you just press that on and off button once, the number locks itself. Those are the only 2 new different things that collar has now. Recent thing, they just redid the Black Edition. So Pablo's is not going to have those functions because they just did that like this year, I believe. Again, if you care about aesthetics, the Black Edition will be fine. What you don't want to get is the 1900S regular edition. Okay, there's just a regular 1900S. You don't want to get that one because the stimulation, that's the feeling of that collar is more sharper. So sometimes the dogs get a little bit more thrown off with how sharp the stim feels from there. The black edition is more dull, $2,300, so the dogs kind of respond better to it. You are more than welcome to try the 1900S if you want, right? I'm just giving you a heads up. That might be a possibility. We might see more of like a sharper response from the dogs, but that's pretty much it.
And
So
will like the prices of these, we could get these through Canine Perspective, right?
you can get the 2300 from Canine Perspective. We don't have any black editions at the moment, and I'm not sure if you will be planning on restocking.
Okay.
So again, Tina or one of the admins will be sending you a follow-up email, programs, prices, e-collars, prices, and then also a form that needs to be filled out and signed. Once the form is filled out and signed and agreed to, we can go ahead and begin the billing and booking process. Okay.
Perfect.
Just a heads up for the in-person program. Let's say you choose six classes. On the calendar, you'll see 7 reservations. Okay. That 7th reservation is more for like if you need life happens, if you need to reschedule or something, you have a slot reserved for you. But once you have used that extra slot, you'll have to wait to get back on the calendar. This is just to keep things flowing with the client and stuff like that. But we work with your availability. So you'll give us some days and times you're free, and then we work with that. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Took down like a bunch of notes, so definitely just need to like kind of talk through it a little bit more on like what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will look out for an email from either Tina or Elizabeth with everything we talked about.
Yes.
And I'll just let one of them know like what we decide and when we decide and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything does come up, any other questions, whether it be about the program, e-collar, Louie, feel free to reach out to my email and I'll get back to you. But like you said, if that's all, just keep an eye out for that follow-up email. You should be receiving it either tomorrow, Wednesday, or the following day, Thursday, the latest. And then we'll be in touch.
Perfect.
All right, guys. It's nice speaking with you. I'm glad to hear, the connections between Bo to Pablo to you guys. And I think there's a referral thing going on as well. So I think it applies to you guys too. So, they'll reach out to you guys about that information as well. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. All righty, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Jill.
Rika.
Bye.
Take care.